restive horse, and yet he unconsciously resented the fact that it did. I haven't been blind, Code, and I have heard and seen this thing growing. It is hard for a fisherman to lose his ship and not suffer for it afterward at the hands of inferior sailors. I've known you all my life, Code, and I believe in you now, just as I did that day in school you took the whipping I should have got for passing you a note. You haven't heard the last of the May Schofield, and you won't until you lay the ghost that has come out of its grave. But whatever you do, or wherever you are, I want you to remember that I stand ready to help you in every way I can. All this," she swept her arm about the richly furnished room, "is worthless to me now that Jim is gone, unless I can do some good for those I like. Please, Code, will you feel free to call on me if you need help?" The flush that had receded returned with a flood of color that made his face beneath its fair hair appear very dark. "Really, Elsa," he stammered, "that's awfully handsome of you. But I hope things won't go so far as that. I can never forget what you have said." Elsa Mallaby had always been like that to him. Even when she married hard-luck Jim Mallaby, she had always seemed to regard Code Schofield as the one man in Freekirk Head. But Jim, being too busy with his strange affairs, had not noticed. Jim it was who, after 20 years of horrible poverty and ill luck, had caught the largest halibut ever taken off the banks, and made thousands of dollars exhibiting it alive. And it was this same Jim who, for the remaining 10 years of his life, turned to gold everything he touched. Mallaby House was his real monument, for here, on the great green hill that overlooked the harbor, he had erected a mansion that made his name famous up and down the Bay of Fundy. And here, 7 years ago, he had brought Elsa Fuller as his bride, Elsa Fuller, who was the belle of Freekirk Head, and had been to Boston to boarding school. It was to Mallaby House that Code Schofield had come to dinner this night. He had not wanted to come, and had only agreed when she bribed him with the promise of something very important she might reveal. The revelation was hardly a pleasure. Nothing had been a pleasure to him since that day 6 months ago, when his old schooner, dismasted and leaking in a gale, had foundered near the Wolves, two sharp-toothed islands near Grand Mignon. 4 islanders had been lost that day, and he alone had lived through the surf. "What else did old Jed Martin say, Elsa?" he asked suddenly. She knitted her brows and stared into the fire. Why would he always go back to that? "He said that the May Schofield should have been able to live out that gale easily if she had been handled right, old as she was. She was pretty old, wasn't she?" "50 years. She was 20 when Dad got her. He sailed her 28, and I had her for 2. You got a good deal of insurance out of her, didn't you, Code?" $10,000, her full value. "And you bought the Charming Lass with that, didn't you?" "Yes, that and 2,000 that Dad had saved. Why?" "Old Jed Martin said something about that, too." Schofield's face paled slightly, and his mouth closed tightly, exhibiting the salience of his jaw. "So that's it, huh? Thinks I ran her under for the insurance. The old barnacle. Is that around the island, too?" "I guess it must be, or I shouldn't have heard about it. You didn't, of course, did you, Code?" "I hardly expected you would ask that, Elsa. Why, I loved that old schooner like I love, well, my mother." "I believe you, Code. You don't need to ask that. I just wanted to hear you